Welcome to the Bada Boom channel, your source for useful and entertaining information. Now this puppy, you're gonna want to watch a few times because it's dense. But hey, who says studying needs to be painful? Time to sit back, relax, and zone out the rest of the world. Find security in the fact that you're being productive. And guys, after watching this, you'll have a better idea as to why girls expect you to be able to read our minds. Bada boom. Okay, so the first part about body language is that you need to look at the whole picture. You can't just say like, oh, when someone touches their face, they're lying. You have to pay attention to three different things: the context, the person, and the other gestures that they're using. Normally you need like at least 3 body language signals before you can actually say like, oh, I know what that person's saying. I don't want to call it mind reading because you're not reading. So you're just kind of like picking up on the emotions that they're giving off. Here's an example. Let's say we see someone with their arms folded politely in their lap. At first glance, you might think that person's being submissive. But then if you were to look and see that their legs are also spread and their chin is down, then you can reasonably assess that that person is feeling both dominant and submissive. And I don't know, maybe that means they see you as an equal. You gotta pay attention to the context too though. Like if somebody was watching TV while making this gesture, that could just mean that it's like a really intense part of the show or something. I personally like to activate my subconscious when I analyze people's body language because it's fun. The way you do it is by cartoonifying them in your mind. It's kind of like daydreaming, you know, like when you have visions and random thoughts pop in your head. It might take practice depending on your ability to visualize, but these cartoon visions will actually like accentuate certain details that your subconscious noticed and that it wants to notify your conscious mind like, hey, check this out. Sometimes if your imagination is like particularly powerful and you've maybe like not got the best sleep the night before, then your imagination will actually make these visions kind of like come to life in your mind. So yeah, do that for the body language that people give you and for their expressions. You'll have a lot of fun learning what certain gestures mean, especially if you're a kid trying to negotiate with your parents. Knowing this will change your life. First off, I don't recommend thinking in terms of dominant submissive like we did in that last example. The problem there is that people get so hyper-focused on power plays that they end up blinding themselves to the big picture, and that ends up working against them. Ooh, you want to know how you can tell if someone's looking at the big picture? Their pupils will dilate and get really big. No, I don't think that's how it really works. Pupils actually get really big when they're solving like complex math problems and stuff like that, so when they're in like a higher level of thinking, and typically when they're feeling good and focused and positive. It's normally the best time to ask someone for something when their pupils are big. Most people are considered to look better when their pupils are big, probably because they're in a more positive state of mind. Smaller pupils are not so friendly and are actually more prominent when people are stressed. Or they're on opiates. It helps to know just in general what the positive gestures are and what the negative gestures are. When someone's chin is down, that's normally a negative sign. However, if you're looking back at someone and your head's tilted back, kind of like you're looking at them down your nose, then that's also perceived as a negative sign. If somebody's arms or legs are crossed in any way, then that is perceived as a negative sign. Some gestures that you're going to want to look out for include the hands on hips gesture, and that means that somebody is like about to dominate you, like they're planning on dominating you. Also be aware if someone's doing the critical evaluation gesture, because that normally means that you're boring them and that they disagree with you. Another threatening gesture is the sideways glance. That one's really powerful, so use it sparingly. Be aware when someone has their hands in their pockets, because that normally means that they're hiding something. Generally, when someone shows you their palms, that means that they're being honest. Another way that you can tell if someone's trying to hide something from you is if you pay attention to their micro expressions. You know, it's like when a woman is talking to a man and he's not really listening, but then when she says, "What did I just say?" he's like, and he can repeat back to her what she said. How do men do this? They take a mental snapshot. So now positive gestures are somebody's when their arms are open and not across their body. People actually have a harder time controlling their legs. So if they're trying to come up a certain way, they're gonna be able to do it with their face and their hand, but their legs will reveal a lot. Like their feet will point to the thing that they're thinking about. And if they're pointing to the door, then you're boring them. People who use open gestures are way more likable. Smiling is another positive gesture, obviously. And if you train yourself to smile at people when you see them, your life will get infinitely better. Another positive gesture is the eyebrow raise, or at least it's perceived that way. Even though I personally perceive the eyebrow raise as like a seriously. It is a good idea to do a quick eyebrow raise at people when you see them, if you can't muster a smile. You know, it's kind of like the head nod that guys do, and some women. It's just acknowledging somebody. When someone's talking and you want them to feel like you're listening intently, what you do is you tilt your head and you nod slowly, like to the beat of 1 per second. Nodding too quickly is like telling them to hurry up. It's too bad because I do it all the time. Alright, well, we're kind of running out of time, but I'll post part 2 so you guys can watch more of the individual gestures. You can just go somewhere and people watch and practice, like a boss. Alright, I love you guys. And if you train yourself to see people when you want them to feel like they're listening, Plus, when somebody... idea as to why girls expect you to read out mind. Anyway, then that's perceived as a... However, if you're looking at someone with your head tilted back, that's also kind of... At first glance, you might think that person's being permissive. I like to activate my subconscious when I analyze 3 gestures that they...